give you the world. Now you find that you...
What if I told you some of the biggest R&B hits in history were never written to be serious? They were jokes, accidents, and outright chaos that snuck onto the charts and never left.
Been begging you, and I just wanna take care.
We're talking about a 19-year-old who used a frog voice to tease girls in school. A record label boss who got his whole band drunk before hitting record. And a song written as a filthy joke in a late-night club that somehow sold 200,000 copies a day at its peak.
Tell your mama what you need right now.
Welcome to R&B Hives. Today we're counting down 10 R&B joke songs that stunned the world and became global hits. And every single story you're about to hear is 100% real. Number 10. Clarence Frogman. Henry. Ain't Got No Home. 1956. It's 1955 in New Orleans, and a teenage piano player named Clarence Henry is playing a late-night club gig. Way too young to even be in the building. By 2 in the morning, he had played every song he knew. The crowd would not leave. So Clarence did something wild. He looked out at those dancers and started improvising a brand new song on the spot, singing the first verse in his regular voice, the second in a high-pitched girl's falsetto he'd borrowed from his favorite duo Shirley and Lee, and the third verse in a full-on frog croak. A sound he had been using since high school to scare girls in the hallway, created by inhaling and singing at the same time. The crowd lost their minds. Chess Records' A and R man. Paul Gayton was in the building that night. He passed the song up to label boss Leonard Chess himself, who flew down to New Orleans just to hear it. Chess told Paul to break the song into 3 distinct parts: the man, the girl, and the frog. And they cut it at the legendary Cosimo Matassa's studio in September 1956. When local DJ Papa Stappa flipped it to the B-side and put it on air, listeners flooded the phone lines. But nobody knew the title or the artist's name. They just kept calling it The Frog Song by the Frogman. The nickname stuck forever. Released December 15th, 1956. Ain't Got No Home hit number 3 on the national R&B chart and cracked the pop top 20. A joke voice born in a high school hallway had turned a broke teenager into a star. And years later, the Beatles personally requested Clarence Frogman Henry as the opening act for 18 dates of their very first United States tour in 1964. Number 9. Lloyd Price. Staggerly. 1958. Before Lloyd Price ever recorded a note of Staggerly, the song was already 60 years old and rooted in a real murder. On Christmas night, 1895, in a St. Louis saloon, a man named Lee Shelton shot and killed William Billy Lyons in an argument over a Stetson hat. Shelton reclaimed his hat, walked out, and became a folk legend. Blues singers were telling that story as far back as 1897. Lloyd Price first heard the song as a child in Louisiana, listening to his father and uncles sing it in a French patois he couldn't fully understand. He rediscovered it years later through New Orleans pianist Archibald's 1950 R&B version. When Price was drafted into the Army and sent to Korea, he entertained troops with the song. Too tired of playing standards, he reached back for the one story that always got a reaction. Back stateside and signed to ABC Paramount, Price recorded Stagger Lee in New York in September 1958, transforming the old murder ballad into an upbeat New Orleans R&B stomper with blazing horns and a driving dance floor beat. He originally released it as the B-side. A DJ in Seattle called him personally and said, "Lloyd, you're on the wrong side." Radio flipped it. Within weeks, the song was moving 200,000 copies a day. It hit number 1 on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the R&B chart in February 1959, spending 4 weeks at the top. Price had to record a cleaned-up version for American Bandstand, changing the shooting to a fistfight so Dick Clark would let him on TV. Stagger Lee ended the year as the #1 R&B record of all of 1959. A bar fight from 1895 had finally found its #1. Number 8. Fats Domino, Blueberry Hill, 1956.
Found my thrill.
By 1956, Antoine Fats. Domino was already one of the most successful names in rhythm and blues. But when he came to his producer Dave Bartholomew with the idea of recording Blueberry Hill, Bartholomew was completely against it. It had been sung 1,000,000 times before, Bartholomew later said. I wasn't very interested in Fats recording it.
Love, sweet melody.
And he wasn't wrong. Blueberry Hill was a 1940 standard, already recorded by Glenn Miller, Gene Autry, and Louis Armstrong. It was about as far from cutting-edge R&B as you could get. But Fats was stubborn. There was one catch, though. On the day of the session, nobody in the studio could remember the full lyrics. Not Fats, not the band, not a single person in the building. There is, to this day, no confirmed single master take of the recording. They pieced together what they could remember of a song written 16 years earlier, and let Fats work his rolling New Orleans piano magic over the top of it. Released in October 1956, Blueberry Hill hit #2 on the pop charts, held out of the top spot only by a Guy Mitchell record, and went to #1 on the R&B chart where it stayed for 11 straight weeks. Fats Domino, who learned to speak English as a second language after growing up speaking French Creole in New Orleans, would go on to hold the R&B #1 spot for an extraordinary 27 consecutive weeks across 3 different singles that year. Elvis Presley covered Blueberry Hill. The Beach Boys covered it. It was ranked number 82 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time. And it all started because the producer said no and Fats said nothing, then did it anyway. If you are enjoying this, do well to like, share, and subscribe to keep connected. Number 7. Wilson Pickett, Mustang Sally, 1966. The original title of this song was not Mustang Sally. It was Mustang Mama, and Wilson Pickett had absolutely nothing to do with writing it. Mustang Sally was written by a man named Sir Mac Rice, who happened to be Pickett's former bandmate in the Detroit vocal group The Falcons. Rice came up with the idea after visiting singer Della Reese, whose drummer wanted a Ford Mustang for his birthday instead of the Lincoln Reese had planned to buy him. Rice built a song around the image of a woman who wouldn't slow down. The name Mustang Sally came directly from Aretha Franklin. She heard the demo, heard the word Sally already in the lyrics, and suggested making it alliterative. Rice released his version in 1965. It hit number 15 on the R&B charts. Then one night, Pickett caught Rice performing it live on a shared bill and knew immediately he had to cut his own version. He booked time at the legendary Fame Studios in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, where the house band, it's an all-white group of musicians playing the deepest black Southern soul in America, laid down one of the tightest grooves ever put on tape. Pickett grunted, screamed, and tore through the track. Yet when they finished the take, the master tape flew off the reel and shattered into pieces. Producer Tom Dowd cleared the room and spent hours patiently splicing it back together by hand. He saved it. Released in 1966, Pickett's Mustang Sally peaked at number 6 on the R&B chart and hit number 23 pop. In 2000, the recording was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Today, it's one of the most played songs at weddings, bar gigs, and stadiums on the planet. Held together by a man with tape and patience. Number 6. Etta James, Tell Mama, 1967.
Talk to me, I'll do what you choose, I won't.
By the summer of 1967, Etta James was in the worst shape of her life. She was 29 years old, cycling in and out of USC County Hospital for drug treatment, doing stints at Sybil Brand Women's Prison in Los Angeles, and watching her career slowly collapse. Nothing was easy then, she said years later. My career was building up, but my life was falling apart.
The girl you had didn't have no
Leonard Chess of Chess Records refused to give up on her. He had an idea: send her somewhere new. He convinced Etta to travel to Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and record at the Fame Studios where Aretha Franklin, Wilson Pickett, and Percy Sledge had all recently made history. When James arrived in August 1967, she told the crew she had tons of confusion and anger stored up inside, and was ready to blow the doors off the studio. The song they handed her was originally called Tell Daddy, a 1966 track written and recorded by blind soul singer Clarence Carter. Etta flipped the gender, kept the groove, and swallowed the microphone whole. Producer Rick Hall also made a key technical adjustment. He mixed her voice to eliminate the distortion that had plagued her high notes on every previous album. For the first time on record, Etta James sounded as powerful as she did in real life.
She wasn't worth all the time we spent.
Tell Mama was released October 1967, hit number 10 on the R&B chart, and gave James her all-time highest Billboard Hot 100 position at number 23. The B-side, recorded at the same sessions, was I'd Rather Go Blind, which became one of the most beloved blues recordings in history. One album, one trip to Alabama, and a career resurrection that nobody saw coming. Number 5. Chuck Berry, My Ding-a-Ling, 1972. Chuck Berry, the man who invented the guitar riff that built rock and roll, who wrote Johnny B. Good, Maybelline, and Roll Over Beethoven, never had a number 1 hit with any of those songs. His only Billboard Hot 100 number 1 came in 1972 with a filthy joke about a little bell. Or Ray Charles, What Did I Say? 1959. Ray Charles did not write What Did I Say in a studio. He did not write it at a piano in a quiet room. He wrote it in real time in front of a live crowd at 1 in the morning because he had 12 minutes left in his set and absolutely no songs left to play. It was December 1958 at a dance club in Brownsville, Pennsylvania. Charles and his orchestra had burned through their entire set list and still had time on the clock. He turned to his band and said, "I don't know where I'm going, just follow me." He turned to his backup singers, the Raylettes, and told them, "Whatever I say, just repeat after me." He broke into a 5-note piano riff pulled from his gospel roots, started calling and responding with the crowd, and let 12 minutes of pure improvisation roll out of him. By the end of the song, the crowd had rushed the stage, begging to know where they could buy the record. There was no record. Not yet. Charles took it on the road for a few more shows, got the same wild reaction every night, then called his producers at Atlantic Records and said simply, "I've got something." They recorded What Did I Say in New York on February 18th, 1959. The studio had just acquired a brand new 8-track recorder, and engineer Tom Dowd was still learning how it worked. The song was cut live in the room, no overdubs, 3 or 4 takes, and it was done. Atlantic split it into 2 parts to fit on a single. Released in June 1959, it debuted on the Hot 100 at number 82 and climbed steadily for weeks, peaking at number 6 pop and hitting number 1, R&B. It became Ray Charles's first gold record. Rolling Stone ranked it number 10 on their list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. The Beatles played it for 2 years straight in Hamburg. It is now widely regarded as one of the songs that invented soul music. And it started because a blind man ran out of material and refused to stop playing. Number 3. James Brown, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, 1965. James Brown walked into Arthur Smith Studios in Charlotte, North Carolina, in February 1965, not to make a classic. He went in to prove a point. For over a year, Brown had been locked in a bitter legal battle with King Records, fighting for his own publishing company, higher royalties, and the right to control his own music. When a court finally ruled in his favor and he signed a new deal, he went straight to the studio. And he was exhausted. "We were tired when we cut it," Brown said in a 1965 interview. "So we weren't strong enough to make it faster, but we wouldn't let the groove drop." What came out of that worn-down, furious post-lawsuit session was something no one in the building fully understood yet. The rhythm had shifted entirely. The beat was now landing on the 1 instead of the 2 and 4. The guitar was cutting like a knife, and the horns were punctuating rather than carrying the melody. It was, historians now agree, the first true funk record. Brown recorded it in one take. Before the playback, he leaned into the mic and shouted, and this is on the actual tape, "This is a hit." King Records boss Sid Nathan hated it. He gave a copy to New York DJ Frankie Crocker, who also personally hated it, but put it on air anyway because the phones went insane. The tape was edited, sped up a half step, and cut into 2 parts for the single. Released June 1965, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag hit number 8 pop and sat at number 1 on the R&B chart for 8 straight weeks. It won Brown his very first Grammy Award. In 1999, it was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Rolling Stone ranked it number 71 on their greatest songs list. James Brown walked into the studio dead tired and accidentally invented a genre. If you are enjoying this, do well to like, share, and subscribe to keep connected. Number 2. Otis Redding, Respect, 1965.
And what you need, baby, you got it.
Otis Redding wrote Respect in one day. The arrangement took 20 minutes. He recorded it at Stax Records in Memphis in the summer of 1965, backed by Booker T and the MGs. Steve Cropper on guitar, Duck Dunn on bass, Al Jackson Jr. on drums, and released it on August 15, 1965. It reached number 4 on the R&B chart and number 35 pop. Not bad, but not a phenomenon. Not yet. What made Respect dangerous was its story. In Otis's hands, the song was a strutting, chest-pounding demand from a working man. A man who goes out, brings home the money, and wants his woman to treat him right when he walks through the door. It was raw, funny in its arrogance, and deeply human in its bruised pride. Otis performed it everywhere. He performed it at the Monterey Pop Festival. Audiences loved it, but nobody had any idea what was coming. In February 1967, a 24-year-old Aretha Franklin sat down at a piano inside Atlantic Records in New York and completely rewired the song. She added the R-E-S-P-E-C-T spelling. She added "sock it to me." She flipped the entire gender dynamic, turning a man's domestic demand into a woman's universal declaration. Her version hit number 1 on both the pop and R&B charts in 1967, became the anthem of the civil rights movement, and won 2 Grammys. When Otis Redding heard it, he did not get angry. He said, "That girl took my song." And then he laughed because he knew she was right. Otis died in a plane crash on December 10, 1967, just months after Aretha claimed his greatest composition. He was 26 years old. Number 1. Marvin Gaye, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, 1968.
With some other guy you knew before.
No song on this countdown has a stranger road to greatness. I Heard It Through the Grapevine was written by Norman Whitfield and Barrett Strong for Motown Records in the summer of 1966. Smokey Robinson and the Miracles recorded it first. Motown boss Berry Gordy rejected it, said it wasn't right for the group. Whitfield took it back, rewrote it, and recorded it with Marvin Gaye in early 1967. Gordy rejected it again, this time choosing a Holland Dozier Holland song as Gaye's next single instead. Furious, Whitfield gave it to a brand new Motown act, Gladys Knight and the Pips. Their gospel-fueled up-tempo version was released in September 1967 and hit number 2 on the Hot 100 and number 1 R&B. A massive hit. Most people assumed that was the end of it.
Not much longer would you be my...
But Norman Whitfield was not finished. He was convinced, absolutely certain, that Marvin Gaye's shelved version was the real version. When Gaye's 1968 album In the Groove was released, radio disc jockeys found the track buried inside and started playing it on their own. The listener response was immediate and overwhelming. Gordy, finally forced to acknowledge what he had sitting in his vault, approved the single release in October 1968.
It took me by surprise, I must say.
It entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 82. By December 14, 1968, it hit number 1 and stayed there for 7 straight weeks. It became the biggest selling single in Motown history at that time. For one glorious week, Marvin Gaye's Grapevine sat at number 1, Diana Ross and the Supremes' Love Child sat at number 2, and Stevie Wonder's For Once in My Life sat at number 3. The first time in Motown history, the company held the top 3 pop chart positions simultaneously. A song rejected twice, shelved for over a year, given away to another artist, came back and became the defining record of its era. Welcome to R&B HIVES. No story here is fiction. Every single one of them is real.